The goal of the show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. Today, you are going to learn from Christi Geary. Christi is leading AMP, and AMP just went through a merger with AMP and also Advantage Unified Commerce. They were sister agencies before. Now they're together for a powerhouse agency, basically owning the funnel, where AMP does the creative specialty at the top of the funnel and AUC was doing the bottom of the funnel, but now they're together collapsing that whole structure, and she's going to talk to us about that, but also how she broke into the industry, stayed on the brand side for a long time, and now is back to agency side. So it's very interesting stuff here, all good for you in your career. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast, and as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Ellie. Christi Geary, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Show. How are you doing today?
I am fantastic. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Excited to talk with you. What are we going to talk about today? What's the game plan?
We could talk about so many things.
Yeah.
But for today, my people would tell you that I'm supposed to focus on our agency. So AMP agency and driving full volume impact.
And there's some news that just broke yesterday. The time that this is out, it'll be yesterday. So we got to unpack the news and then how you broke into this business and some of the lessons you learned along the way. How does that sound?
That sounds pretty fantastic.
Wonderful. Then we will start nice and easy and ask you a question that I like to start off with most podcasts. What do you like to do outside of work?
Oh, what do I like to do outside of work besides not working?
That's the best answer.
So for me, I am the mom of 2 teenage girls. So most of my time is focused on that and our family in general. But beyond that, love to exercise, love to read, love to laugh.
Love that. Well, your daughters go into advertising.
One May, she's got guidance for sports marketing. The other one is dead set on veterinary science.
Okay. Those are good paths to go down. Would you recommend them to go into advertising and marketing today?
I think it depends on which side of that field you decide to pick.
What are the sides?
So I spent 25 years on the client side and then did the opposite of what everyone else does and jumped to the agency side.
That's wild.
I think the good news is they have a little time to figure out how the current insanity of the landscape is going to fall out, and they can make an informed decision.
You spent years at Procter Gamble. Is this correct?
I did. 18 years at Procter Gamble and 5 years at Bayer.
Okay, so another point of conversation is why go from brand side to agency side?
Because I'm crazy? Yes. No, it was time for a change. I figured I had worked with enough agencies at that point, and
You saw it.
I'd done my stint, right? I knew how the brand side worked, and I thought it would be fun to be able to partner across a broader portfolio and a broader array of how do we solve.
What role were you on the brand side?
So I started off in strategy and insights, and then kind of evolved over the course of that to marketing, omni innovation, and all sorts of emerging business models.
Interesting. And then working with multiple agencies to execute those strategies. What would you say was like a common mistake agencies would make that you're like, if only they understood this one thing?
That they were the most important aspect of the conversation. So it's an agency's job to really love and have passion for everything they do, but it's usually one small piece of the broader picture of what a brand is trying to solve for, which is actually a miss, because if you can get to a more holistic picture, everybody's going to deliver better.
Gotcha.
But for this particular case, they get very focused on delivering that one item and don't always remember the bigger picture.
Got it. What was the bigger picture in your case?
What you were actually trying to achieve in that particular moment with that particular brand.
Got it.
Not everything comes down to the same metric.
Got it. So you learned the do's and don'ts. What inspired you? Like, was there a moment when you were brand side that an agency did really well? You're like, I love this. This makes me think I might want to go to the other side.
That's a good question. There were so many different moments. I think it was less moments and more people. I think there were individuals from big agencies to tiny boutique agencies who inspired me over the course of my career in terms of how they thought differently and how they approached things differently. And actually, it was a person who ended up convincing me to come to what is the proverbial dark side.
Who is that?
So that was Dave Peacock, who
Okay.
runs Advantage Solutions. And we have St. Louis in common, born and raised. And he offered me the opportunity to come build something amazing. And that's what we did.
Let's get into it then. So what is the news? What is the role? Give me the rundown of what you're up to today.
Absolutely. So the news is that we are launching AMP Agency, which is a combination of what was legacy AMP Agency and Advantage Unified Commerce. That was, just because this is how the agency world works, the combination of about 10 plus capability specific agencies before that have all kind of come together over the years. But this is a very intentional design to figure out a seamless end-to-end model that's really, truly focused on operating in this future state world that we're all trying to navigate at the moment.
10 different agencies, one roof, and you're in charge.
I'm in charge most times. You could ask my team. Sometimes that might not be true, but I try.
If there's an issue, it's somebody else. Somebody else is in charge. That's how I would do it. No, I love that. So, what are some of those capabilities?
Yeah, so we do everything from full service media, Amazon, e-commerce, digital shelf. Love our creative and frankly everything from promotion to portfolio. It's everything end to end. So you think about brand building all the way down to commerce. It's about figuring out how do you unify all those components in a way that breaks down the silos.
So it's kind of like its own like little holding company in a way.
It is, but in my opinion, so much better because our team actually has to work with each other on a daily basis so they understand all the different roles, all the different capabilities in the teams. They don't just get brought in for a specific question.
And then it seems like that would eliminate any sort of competition or egos. Everybody's one goal.
That is a good goal. I think that's absolutely the culture we're striving for.
Yeah.
We thrive when we don't land in a fragmented world, and that's what we're trying to get brands to understand is that finding an agency partner who's not competing internally allows us to really, really focus on what they need to do.
Interesting. And then what type of brand or category? Can you give me something where this would be a sweet spot to work with you all?
Oh, so all brands. We work across all industries in this capacity. We, of course, have a lot of CPG, a lot of food and bev, but we also have everything from beauty, health, fashion, alc bev, a couple of outliers in there too, which we consider to be some of the fun ones because they make you think differently. A sweet spot for us are the brands that understand they need to think about shoppability and commerce differently, that it all needs to be synonymous and built in as one going forward, and the ones who are looking to be a little more disruptive versus I think what's happening in some of the areas where everyone's getting the same holding company to do the same thing.
Got it. And so now you are the head of AMP now.
I am.
Would you call this a 2.0 AMP? How would you define this?
It's a good question. I think it's more than a 2.0. I think it's a different path entirely. Think of it as a third way.
Okay.
So AMP previously was very focused on what many would call upstream brand building. And then Advantage Unified Commerce was very shopper retail
Downstream.
commerce centric.
Okay.
And the magic is that we've always partnered in some capacity, but what we've built is a fully integrated model with all the infrastructure and ways of working that support market.
Completely new. And you're in charge of it. Okay, interesting. Why do you think you are set to lead it all? What did they see in you? Why did you find this interesting to want to lead it?
So it's a good question. I think most of us ask ourselves that every day, especially on the days that are harder than others.
Why me?
Why me? Both good and bad.
Yes.
But the reality of that answer is I spent a very good portion of my career navigating the omni space, truly understanding marketing and sales, really understanding consumer versus shopper, brand, retail, all those pieces that go with it. Very few people end up with the unicorn profile that lets you be able to speak both languages, and that's the world we've landed in. I also tend to be the person you call when it's broken, we have no idea, or we've never done it before, go fix it. So
okay,
I like to run towards those. That's the fun stuff.
I like that. Anything else about the news that launched and this new, we call it an agency, right?
Call it an agency. It's an amazing
that.
agency. And I should be remiss if I didn't say it doesn't disrupt anything on existing clients.
For sure.
So we continue to deliver with excellence across the board, everything that people have been getting previously. This just dials up the opportunity to truly think about go-to-market in a more effective way.
Can we talk about some of the existing clients, or is that illegal?
It might be slightly illegal.
Okay.
I would love to talk about it in code, but that probably would take a little more prep work.
Sure. No worries.
But hey, on our website are any number of case studies and fabulous things that people can play with.
So nothing's stopping me from just going.
Nothing's stopping you.
But people can look that up.
To answer your original question that I detoured off of, I think the only other thing to really bring it home in this one is we've been talking about brand building and commerce. And for us, they start to become synonymous. We don't want people to be making that distinction anymore. Brand building should be across an entire spectrum of shoppable moments, everything shoppable. What can you do? And for us, we're really leaning into that AMP name and metaphor and having a lot of fun with it. So our tagline going forward is full volume impact.
Nice.
And we're connecting that brand love with buyer behavior. And we're doing it in a way that allows us to very intentionally dial up, dial down, take the metaphor out the window, and create that perfect harmony that sticks forever.
I love it. What does success look like in the next 6 months for you, for the company? Give me the rundown.
An absolutely amazing launch led by the B&E podcast, because hey, why not? Followed by continued business growth. And more importantly, it becomes the agency that people want to work with and want to be at.
Oh, love that. And it will. It will. I'm
That's the
excited
goal.
to watch. So now we need to understand how you got into all this, how you got here today. So we'll kick it to your break-in story.
Everybody needs one.
All right. So I'm always curious, what was the point? What was the moment? What were you doing? What were you thinking when you said to yourself, I want to be in marketing, advertising, a part of the ad making process? Do you remember that moment?
I do.
No way.
I do.
Tell me about it.
Because I wasn't thinking about that at all. I was 100% thinking about how do I get a Tide laundry sample. I was at school. I already had a job lined up in Chicago, and I was waiting for my then fiance, now still husband, to get out of class. And Procter Gamble was giving away Tide samples and wouldn't give one unless I dropped a resume.
Really?
So I dropped a resume.
What campus was this?
This was at Washington University in St. Louis.
Wash U. Great school.
There you go. See, most people don't know how to say it that way, so I had to go with the full name.
I'm here. I'm with it. I'm with it.
So I dropped the resume just to get the Tide sample. And
what was was it like a little, what did it look like?
I'm old. So this was it was the old box of powder.
Oh, yeah.
It was
It's
not
still got
even
the-
exciting. Pods would have been better, but it's okay.
Oh, I'm with the boxes. I feel like those are more like the laundromats use those. I feel like they're more effective.
That's what it felt like, for
Yeah.
sure. But very long story short, they called me and said, we love this kind of intersection you have with your degrees, because I have a degree in biology and then a degree in business, economic, and law.
Oh, perfect.
Art and science. And they're like, we have this thing called consumer and market knowledge, strategy and insights, human insights. We think you'd be great at it. And I said, yeah, I already have another job. Again, knew very little as a college student that Procter & Gamble was like a big deal.
You did have another job, or were you just saying
Already
that?
lined up.
Okay, what was this job?
It was a terrible, in hindsight, it was like a commercial lending job in Chicago, which
Sounds like Jack, my co-founder.
it was not the right direction. Clearly, I was saved by a Tide sample.
Wow.
But so yeah,
So you were a senior?
I was a senior, and yeah, finding my path to what was going to be after school. And I was planning to go to med school and took a break from that to go earn some money, because it was also when HMOs were rising and all of the friends who were in med school were miserable.
Okay.
So I decided, let's go work for a while. And once you start working for a while,
You get into
it's a
it.
little hard to not make money. So I found that by stumbling into Procter & Gamble, they allowed me to continuously reinvent and learn and grow. Never had a role that didn't shift within every 18 months or so, and they were all
I love that.
figure it out.
I love that. So the first role then, what was the title?
My first
And
role.
you had to interview, right? They called you up. You still had to go
I
through
had
interviews.
to interview, but again, I like conversations, as you can tell.
Yeah, you'd be good. Yeah.
I enjoyed the interviews. I also wasn't taking it very seriously because I had another job. I always figure if they don't like you, then it's not the right fit anyways, and vice versa. So I had the interview, loved the people, had an absolute blast, and went back to my then fiance and said, I really like this, but there's no way they'll hire me because they're only hiring MBAs and they only have one spot.
Oh.
And somehow got hired.
Wow, you beat out MBAs.
I like to talk. Apparently they were looking for talkers.
Interesting. So that first role was what? What was that called?
First role, wow, it was a lifetime ago. Associate Manager, Consumer and Market Knowledge.
And did you have to go to Ohio for that?
I moved to Cincinnati. And we spent 18 years in Cincinnati, although I worked global jobs, so traveled all over. Oh, and my first category was feminine care.
Interesting.
Yes.
Okay. And did your fiance, you're like, we're going to Cincinnati?
Everybody forgets to ask that question. It's a really good one. So that was the hardest decision because we both had jobs in Chicago. And so he took a giant leap and said, well, this one seems really good, so let me go do that. And I'll give a plug for P&G here because they are a big part of the reason why I'm at where I am. At the time, they were like, hey, he's in finance and economics. We'd love to have this guy too, but we have a hiring freeze. And they had a program that if your spouse was coming, they would find your spouse a job.
Stop it.
I'm not kidding. So they found him a job for the less than a year until their hiring freeze let up, and then they hired him. So we both worked at Procter Gamble for almost 18 years. And then we worked at Bayer together for almost 5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Usually come as a set, although not recently in agency world. He was smart enough to dodge that one.
Yeah. So what's he doing now?
He is working at Perrigo.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's that?
So it's same CPG, but more in the private label arena.
Got it. I'll have to check. We'll have to get him on the pod too.
He would love it.
Oh my goodness, we got a lot of work cut out for us. So you got into Procter and Gamble, which is like the advertising, marketing, insights vehicle. Like they invented this stuff.
They did.
They wrote the playbooks, and all these agencies, I feel like, kind of just take the playbook and add their creativity to it.
They do. It's the fun part for me because I got what I would call here's the best possible grounding in marketing you can get. Mm-hmm. But also allowed to break the mold and then go out on your own and explore how would you do this differently? Because I don't necessarily want to do this model. So how would you take the best of that and then reapply it in a world that's constantly changing?
What are some of those key moments then working at Procter and Gamble that you remember, that you constantly go back to if you're stressed out or you're not sure about a problem, this lesson that you learned, something that happened to you? There's got to be so many lessons. I'm not sure many of them I go back to because the lessons usually are the harder things that happened. Yeah.
But I think some of my favorite ones, very early in my career, I got the privilege of traveling all over the world to do in-homes and understand people's relationship and experiences with their products. And it was an incredibly eye-opening experience to understand not only all the different cultures, but the socioeconomic levels and everything that went with it. And learning how to talk and listen to people to truly understand what they thought, what they needed, what were their hopes, what were their dreams, what were their desires, and then translate that into something that would effectively make their lives better from a product standpoint and an advertising standpoint. That's kind of the core, if you will, of what we try to do as an agency now. So while I didn't know it at the time, I was helping us get to this place and this kind of vision of being anchored in that human insight, being anchored in that understanding in a world that's gone data and machine wild.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure there's so many different examples and case studies of that. What is the marketing school of thought within Procter and Gamble? Do they preach a distinctive school of thought, like a Byron Sharp, distinct brand assets, gateways and I don't know.
There's an entire language.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an actual dictionary and thesaurus for the amount of acronyms that Procter & Gamble has. Mm-hmm. One of my team will tell you I speak in acronyms now. When my brain takes shortcuts, I'll turn everything into an acronym, which usually requires what they call Christi decoding.
Sure.
So I don't know that it's one specific school of thought. I will tell you a lot of people literally just call it the P&G School of Marketing.
Okay.
And it really is. It creates an amazing foundation. If you go look out across the marketing industry, some of the biggest people out there all started at
Yes,
Procter and Gamble.
for
and
sure.
it's such a beautiful foundation. But I mean, look,
That's got to be one of the best places to start off if you're brand side. What else is like, I mean, like PepsiCo, like that's an interesting
PepsiCo,
one.
Coke's a good one.
Coke's a good
I mean,
one.
there's a lot of, I would also say some of the smaller companies allow you to think a little differently. You don't have the same budgets, so you have to be more clever with
Yeah.
how you go to market.
Do you mean that? If you were to start your career again, would you have started small? Because I feel like Procter and Gamble is the right way to go.
I feel like for me, it was the right way to go because at the time I wasn't as much on the advertising marketing side as much as I was on the insights and understanding of strategy and business models side.
Yeah.
I think it was the right way for me to better understand all of the functions that go into building a business model.
That's what I'm thinking about, because I this is not me. This is not what I wanted to do, was go in, like, for those that want to go into marketing, get their first marketing job. Like, I feel like Procter and Gamble is like, that's probably,
It's a little bit of, that aspirational,
Yeah.
pie in the sky, wonderful thing to do. It's a great way to build it, but there's a lot of different paths to get there now.
yeah. Tell me something. What do you see? What do you see out there? Do you need an MBA? Clearly not in your position. You crushed them.
I kind of got 5 MBAs over and over and over by
Yeah.
working at Procter and Gamble. I think some companies require an MBA. Still very old school, who think you need to have an MBA to go do it. I think the vast majority of companies now have realized that it's a better model to get that fresh thinking, the people who are actually in the technology, in that actual world, operating in a space where they can bring that experience. And doing the MBA means that unless you're doing it while you're working, it's just more time before you get out in the real world. So that real life experience, I think, is incredibly important. So I've never been a fan of it. I don't have one.
You don't need it.
I didn't need it. I love learning though. But a degree is something on paper, putting it into practice is something else entirely.
True that. So then what about some shifts? And I think PepsiCo does this too. They kind of just shake it up every 18 months, like you said, 2 years, whatever it might be. Like, was there a specific shift, rotation that really clicked for you while you were at P&G?
There's one at P&G and then there was one at Bayer that really cemented it for me. So my last 5 plus, actually, let me back up. So the very first shift that told me I'd prefer to be more on the marketing advertising side versus the data component of that was about 2.5 years into my time at P&G. And I got put on the team to create shopping experiences and bring those to life in an experiential way and help work with retailers and shoppers and really understand how we could transform that arena. This is well before online shopping or all the other pieces that went with it. So it was all about creating a physical manifestation of what could be different. That's was fun. The first time I realized that you could create magic and have fun doing it just by playing in the business world in that space. So where that then took the kind of cementing in that space, I spent my last 5 or 6 years at Procter & Gamble in what they called omni-innovation. So this was working with all retailers, all emerging models, everything across conversational commerce, which was coming out at the time, digital marketing, everything that was starting to rise up. And all of them were, what do we do with this? How do we figure it out? What do we do? So it's very much an experimental way of thinking about business strategy. And I loved it. I loved working in the chaos. I loved working in the ambiguity.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of being given a checklist or this is how you do it. So given the freedom to work in that space.
What are those roles? I feel like I kind of
Well, you're doing one right now, right? You're charting your own path. You're experimenting and learning about all the different things that people are doing so you can figure out what truly interests you and where you want to focus.
Yeah. Absolutely. So all this then, what was the pivot point then? You mentioned the person. What was the last name?
So Dave Peacock was why I came to the agency.
Was this pandemic times?
It was right before.
Okay.
So long story short, again, had an old contact very high up at Bayer who said, hey, we're driving a transformation. You're a bit of a unicorn. Want you to come help out with this. And I said, I don't think so.
No thanks.
And they sent me to talk to a certain person who inspired me. And so he said, I have a couple things I know I want you to do, and the rest of it, you have freedom to roam and tell us what we need to do, which is my favorite thing to do. So I came over and I spent the next 2 years completely helping them transform from what I would consider more traditional marketing to more risk-based, transformational. How do we do this in a bold way that makes it different? So again, trying to push people into a different, newer, better way of doing something. Loved every minute of that. And because I loved every minute of that, they then said, we need you to come do Omni. We need you to help us figure out how to better connect sales and marketing, which I did, and made the vast human error of saying, if I did it right, that they would no longer need my position because it should be fully integrated into the organization.
Okay.
So we're going to go with an ego stroke that says that I did too good of a job.
Great. Love that talking point.
Yes, and landed in a place where my job didn't need to be there anymore.
Sure.
So it was time to move on again. So I then had very recently had dinner with Dave as part of a broader group, and he reached out. And he said, hey, I'm here to help you in whatever capacity as you navigate to whatever you want to do next. But I have this thing, and you have all this experience, and I think you would enjoy it, and I think you'd be good at it. And it was intriguing. And so it began.
Love it. Love it. So looking back, connecting it to today, what are some of the lessons along your career journey that makes you especially great at your role today?
Oh, I like the especially great. We're going to see if that really carries over into everybody's point of view, but I'll take it.
But not too great where you don't. Yeah.
Not too great.
Yeah,
exactly. We haven't launched yet. Okay. So lessons. I really love these type of questions, and any given day, they probably shift on which ones I would tell you are more important.
It's okay.
So for me, some of my favorites, and this one you probably get from talking to me. So I'm a big believer that you have to embrace the challenge. And it's not just that you have to embrace the challenge, you have to take pride in it. You have to really decide that this is something that you're going to be different. So I was a competitive swimmer growing up. So as an athlete, like the whole point is if it were easy, everybody would do it. Yeah. And so really embracing the challenge as an opportunity, as a way to grow, that's hugely important. Couple others that I think really have made a difference over a lifespan of understanding navigating corporate America. You have to craft the story, and you have to identify what the true anchor of that story is, and then you have to shout it from the rooftops so incredibly consistently and with excitement, and you have to break it down to that sticky 2 to 3 word phase, full volume impact, if you will, because if you don't, it doesn't reach to the farthest parts of the organization, and it's not repeatable, and it doesn't actually get that sticky glue that you need it to have.
Yeah.
Let's see. And then it's about people, always. People are my favorite part of the job. It's where I started understanding them outside the work and inside the work. You have to enroll them. They have to be part of it. They have to want to be part of it. And you have to help them be a part of building it, which is a big part of what we've done with the agency now. And then the last one, and my team knows this very well, you have to find the humor. You have to make it fun. If you can't laugh about what's going on, there's no point in doing this. We all take ourselves entirely too seriously. And life can be very, very long, as can work. So you got to find the fun.
I love it. Well, Christi, this has been amazing. How can people learn more about AMP? Where should they go? Should they follow you on LinkedIn?
You should follow me on LinkedIn, which would be amazing. You should follow us on our website. You should follow us on social. We are just beyond excited. And again, it's not just what we're delivering, it's how we're delivering it and who we're delivering it with.
I love it. I'm all in.